Hi, I'm Marty Nemko. How to address procrastination. It's merely the symptom. The cure has got to address its cause. Imagine you went to the doctor and you were complaining of a headache, and the first words out of the doctor's mouth was, "Take aspirin, have a nice day." If your headache turned out to be, God forbid, say a brain tumor, you would sue and you would win in any court in the land. A headache's only the symptom. Its cause is going to determine the right treatment. And the same is true of procrastination. You should decide how to treat it only after you've identified the root cause or causes. Here are procrastination's most common causes, and for each, a tactic that has helped my clients. They're derived from my new book, Careers for Dummies. Let's say that one possible cause is that your life is so bad that it's not worth making the effort to cure your procrastination. If that's the case, it's too early to work on procrastination. Instead, take baby steps to improve your life's blockers, whether it's your work, your relationship, your emotional health, or your physical health. Of course, your life doesn't need to be in perfect shape before addressing your procrastination. It just needs to be good enough to feel that your procrastination is worth controlling. Another potential cause of procrastination is you just tend to lose track of time. Well, for a day, or better, a week, keep a timer in your pocket, like the clock app on your iPhone or a small kitchen timer. Set it for whatever time you think is going to be helpful to track, as short as a day, short as a minute, maybe as long as an hour. And every time the timer chimes, that gives you a sense of how long that interval is. If you're ambitious, log what you were doing during that interval. After a few hours, review your log. You may decide you want to reallocate your time. The next possible cause of procrastination is that you're just impulsive. So you tend to escape unpleasant tasks for pleasant ones, even if you know it's going to hurt you long term. You just impulsively act. It might help to try what I call consciousness raising. I'm not talking here about the Buddhist kind, although it probably can be helpful at times. But for the next hour or day, your choice, be aware of what I call that moment of truth when you're facing an uncomfortable task and you're tempted to literally or figuratively get a burrito. Of course, there are times to opt for the burrito, but by being conscious of whether to do that, the procrastinator more often concludes it's worth the discomfort of the darn task and that the burrito can wait. Another possible cause of procrastination is that your philosophy of life is centered around the pursuit of happiness. Some procrastinators are helped by recognizing that the life well led usually entails a fair amount of accomplishment. After all, many people could be happy with a life that's filled with sitcoms and snacks and bubble baths. Yet even a sybarite, somebody who's a pleasure seeker, would agree that such a life is less well led than a life that at least balances work and play, or at least or even prioritizes productivity. Another potential cause of the procrastinator is that you're a perfectionist, so tasks are a long, painful slog. If so, you're understandably going to procrastinate subsequent tasks. It may help to realize that you are in control of a perfectionism pedal. That's what I call a perfectionism pedal, like gas pedal. Rather than defaulting to perfectionism all the time, try to consciously decide whether to press the pedal to the metal and do that task perfectly, or is this a time when the perfect is the enemy of the good, and for that task at least, half pedal, or even less, would be good enough. Another possible cause of procrastination is that you're tackling tasks that are too difficult. If you particularly procrastinate tasks that are hard, can you delegate any? For example, I'm lousy at fixing things around the house, so I usually just call the guy. Or if, for example, your job is often too hard, do you need more training? Or should you pivot into a job that skirts your weaknesses and accentuates your strengths? Another possible cause of procrastination is that you're tackling tasks that are the opposite, too easy or repetitive. Boring tasks generally can be hired out inexpensively, so you might consider outsourcing such tasks, for example, house cleaning or doing the bookkeeping for your small business. Even if you're not wealthy, that freed up time is often worth it. Another cause of procrastination is that you're emotionally fragile, and so you're afraid you won't rebound quickly after a failure or a rejection. Even highly successful people fail, but they rarely allow themselves to wallow. They quickly, maybe even instantly, glean whatever lessons they can, if they exist, from their failure, and then instead of recriminations or anger, they redirect to some positive activity. That isn't an inborn trait, it's an acquirable habit. So keep reminding yourself that if you've got a reasonable chance of succeeding in a task, it's worth trying. If you fail, you'll survive, and maybe even learn something from the attempt. Of course, if you don't try, that ensures you fail, and you lose the learning opportunity, and you decrease your sense of self-efficacy. And that tends to worsen, to spiral down with subsequent tasks until you feel there's very little you can do. Of course, I'm not saying you should tackle tasks that have a poor risk-reward ratio. For example, I'd be a fool to try out for a pro football team. Chances are very good that not only wouldn't I make the team, I'd need an orthopedic surgeon. And a final cause of procrastination is that you're afraid that success would swallow up your life. Really, it's true that success tends to yield more demands on your time, and that can eat into your work-life balance. It may help to, up front, decide how much you're willing to work. Maybe in the short run you don't mind long work hours, but that you generally want to keep it to 40 hours a week. Many people decide that 40 good hours makes them employable, and if that's not good enough for a given employer, it will be for another employer. And finally, there are some people for whom none of the above causes are operative. You simply need tactics to help you manage your time better. These are kind of little tricks and tips. These have helped my clients. First one is picture the pros and cons. Stay alert to that moment of truth when you're deciding whether to do the task or get that burrito. At that moment, remind yourself of how your life would be better if you did the task and worse if you didn't. That may help you decide, more often decide to do the task. The next tactic is what I call the 1-second task. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion. So, if you're about to procrastinate a task that you've decided you should do, ask yourself, what's my next 1-second task? 1 second's a friendly, not intimidating amount of time. Maybe it's just to turn on your computer or open a book. After that 1-second task, do your next 1-second task, then maybe one more. Often that's enough to get the ball rolling. That tactic is also useful when you're reaching a roadblock. Your first reaction to a tough part may be, it's overwhelming. Instead, see if you could take a deep breath and ask yourself, okay, what's my first 1-second task? Another tactic that helps people with procrastination is the 1-minute struggle. Of course, there are exceptions, but usually, if you haven't made progress on a roadblock within 1 minute, you're unlikely to, which makes the whole process sitting there at a screen or whatever for a long time very painful. So, struggle for just a minute, and then ask yourself whether you should keep struggling, get help, or whether you can do the task without toppling that roadblock. Another tactic that helps procrastinators is to ritualize. Some people's procrastination is mitigated by structure, like allocating from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. every Saturday and Sunday to do your taxes until they're done. And a final such tactic is what's called the Pomodoro technique. It's named after those tomato-shaped kitchen timers. Any timer will do. Set it for 20 minutes, work until it chimes, then take 5 minutes to do whatever you want. Repeat that twice. 3 of those, 20 and 5, 20 and 5, 20 and 5, comprise a Pomodoro. Or, now there's a ton of these Pomodoro apps. Just Google Pomodoro apps and you can get one that works on your phone. The takeaway? It really, if I'm being honest, it may be overambitious for the inveterate procrastinator to demand a cure, but one or more of these ideas may reduce procrastination's toll on your life. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Marty Nemko.